I had a very good friend named Bob Chapman, Judge Chapman, who built one of the first houses on Spring Island. And he said, "Joe, you've got to come down to Spring Island. It is such an unbelievable place, and you have a history and involvement in conservation, and that's what Spring Island is all about." I said, "Bob, I'm not looking for another place." And he said, come on down. I want you just to see this place." And so I came down, and they showed me all around, and I was astonished at what the concept was and what the beauty of the place was and all of that. And I had a few drinks with the Chaffins that night, and I went back home to Camden, and I woke up the next morning, and I reached in the pocket of my coat, and I found that I had signed something.
When we decided to come to Spring Island, we bought into what was a promise, because the island was largely undeveloped. And we had an opportunity to participate in how that worked out, but generally speaking, what's so exciting about this place even today is that the end result turned out to be better than the promise.
I remember this statement by Picasso. He had done a painting, and someone said, "Well, how long did it take you to do the painting?" He said, 50 years. He was 50 years old. And so I think when you start to do something, what you have done in the past comes to be part of that decision making. In this case, we had spent a lot of time in Sea Pines Plantation on Hilton Head. We had seen how things had changed. We had seen how a nature preserve that we thought was going to be there for quite some time had shrunk in size.
Having been involved in the Low Country since going to work for Charles Frazier in 1969, we saw Hilton Head before there were 1,000 people. We saw Keel Island and Amelia Island before there was any development. So we knew something about the beauty of the Low Country.
We had visited a lot of the Sea Islands, and we had honeymooned on Cumberland. We'd spent 10 years living on Hilton Head. This island, Spring Island, was the closest thing to Cumberland we had seen.
And of course, it had eventually become a seashore wilderness park. So we ask ourselves, could we evolve a human settlement in a nature preserve? And the market research folks were saying, we can't measure this. There is not one of those. There's no bridge, no beach, no roads. What you're counting on is that this mystical beauty is going to intoxicate people.
It was obvious that this was a very special place, and that you did not want to ruin that natural beauty that was already here.
We just violated most rules of community development by frankly falling in love with what was here.
Close in here, Smokey! Yeah! Smokey, come in here! Close in here! Look out! Look out, tight! Smoke! Close in here! Here! Let's smoke! Close! Close in here!
I heard a story, and I can't picture it in time, but exactly when, but that you'd had an offer that was hard to turn down because you needed the money at the time.
Exactly.
And but you didn't want to sell this property. Tell me why.
Well, part of our legacy from Charles Frazier, who was our mentor, was to take the best you have and share it with everybody. And this gazebo point had been a place that we would bring customers and do a crab boil and show them a little bit of the Carolina life. And one night we had a lady down here who was thinking about Spring Island and came down here. We roasted some oysters, we did a crab boil, the sun was setting, and she said, "I'll take this right here." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry, it's not for sale. This will be part of the open space in the park." She said, "Well, everything has a price." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry, this one doesn't have a price." And
that architecture cannot be dominant. It must be subservient to land, and land comes first.
you know, thank goodness we had the wonderful, quintessential planner laureate Robert Marvin to help us evolve that plan. You know, Robert was the one who said, "Let's get this straight. Are you a golf club? Are you a country club? Are you a shooting preserve? Are you a low country plantation?" And he kept pressing us and pressing us. And we knew for sure that we didn't want to be a country club. It might be a nature park with those amenities, but it wouldn't be a country club.
When we came over in the helicopter, the golf course was almost a natural from the moment we saw it. All the things that we used, ingredients to make this golf course an exceptional golf course.
There will be no concrete, no blacktop. But just keep it. I'd let you shoot right down here. That is the second angle turn right there. Is that right?
And I know I grew up on a sand green 9-hole course in Halifax County, but we call that a left dog leg, not a right dog leg.
Ed, I might even want to come up further with that.
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, there were a lot of things, such as the grasses we used to preserve the environment.
Right in this area.
The marsh.
Going right up to the edge of our fairway.
This way. 9T down this way.
That's perfect. And that's perfect.
Moved all the oaks.
You lose the oaks.
No, we don't. We save them.
Okay. You're not. What I'm asking you is the shock of digging around it and that. Just, if you
I think that the naturalist will come here and say that this is probably one of the finest jobs to preserve nature, the environment,
That, and those first two.
and all the things that this island has been famous for over the years.
So far, I don't have a problem with what I would like to do.
And the fact that the golf course is played through the oaks and then out into the open, onto the marsh, makes it exceptional.
You can. And then come into here this way.
There's one thing that we can do, and what the boss likes to do, which is pretty spectacular, is if you wanted to pull the green up the hill, is start from right here all the way back, say for 100 yards or so, just put in a gorgeous natural bunker running all the way down.
I'd do it.
What yardage do we have from this, for the back to the center back to the center of the green, Ed? 19. Ample. Well, we are, we're happy with this now?
Yeah.
And by the time we make the final decision here, we'll change it a couple times. It'll move around a little bit.
You know, I don't think that we have had, I'm sure that we haven't had a better situation to build a golf course than we did right here.
There's not going to be more than 400 homes on a 3,000-acre island. And that's largely because of the planning, the original planning, which was designed to have this be a low-density development. It's an expensive way to go initially, and it means that all of us here are sharing the costs of that, so it may be a little bit more expensive to live here. But the result of it is we get this.
The concept of having a nature preserve with a community in it meant that there needed to be a way to sustain that and fund that. separate from the typical property owner association.
If you think of this as a nature park with a community, then that POA board takes care of making sure the community is fiscally responsible. But who takes care of that nature park? And that's where the Spring Island Trust comes in to play such an important role. And it's that simple. It's like a checks and balance that a POA board really needs to make sure that this island is running well. The Spring Island Trust Board, you want to make sure that that environment, that aspect that sets this community apart, that they are responsible for that.
When developers decided to develop Spring Island, one of their goals was to keep the environmental impact as low as possible. Now a new building on the island will allow people to see how the natural environment continues to be preserved.
Thank you so much that you have taken this time to honor Daddy's memory with the building, and that not only you but your children and your grandchildren will be able to come here to this place to learn about Spring Island's nature, but nature as a whole, and as a teacher, that's just so important.
Whereas the construction of the Gordon Mobley Nature Center will serve not only as the physical means by which our understanding and our commitment to preservation will be enhanced, but it will serve as a prominent, enduring symbol of both our desire and our intent.
And may you enjoy this building. May it be a joyful part of your life here. And may these two spirits dwell within each and every one of you, and within your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. And that, my friend, is the ultimate legacy of Gordon Mobley and the Spring Island Trust.
Joe Williams early on said, here are the first 100 families. They get it. Remember that we were selling by word of mouth, so that friends were coming to be with friends.
And then they got their friends, and their friends got their friends.
Several of us that had houses had people that were coming for the weekend or stuff stay with us. So we got to know them and took them out to the end of the dock and told them about what was going on and so forth.
So that early core of people who came here helped spread the philosophy, because that's how they attracted their friends here.
In almost all the places around here, most of the people come from the northeast and down. With the fact that this is so built around nature, an awful lot of people have come from almost all 48 states.
That first 100 had a shared value system. Then the question becomes, how do you educate the second 100 and the third 100? And that's where we are now. We're almost into our third 100. And that's where that role of the trust is so important in educating members. What the funding, what the contributions, the generosity of the members exhibits, I think, is the buy-in they have to the values of the trust. That would be my hope, that they have that same appreciation and understanding that the first 100 had. I quickly became aware that people knew how to manage for deer, they knew how to manage for quail, but they didn't know very much about managing for warblers, for songbirds, for wading birds. Chris came down early, thanks to Bruce Lampright, and started doing breeding bird surveys and started conducting birding seminars.
So I answered Betsy saying, if you're really interested in preserving this island, one of the ways you would know that you were doing it is if you preserved all the habitat for the songbirds. And if you didn't lose any species of songbirds, then you knew you'd done a good job. Now, for most developers, that would have scared them off, but to my surprise, Betsy loved the idea. And so there's a bluebird that was sitting right up here. Betsy taught me early on that sense of place was not just something that happened. There was a great deal of planning and attention to detail in understanding all those little aspects that were there that collectively made a sense of place. And so one of the goals of the Spring Island Trust, one of its responsibilities, is to educate all the members about what those aspects are so they will embrace them and do their part to help protect them. So one of the key things about Spring Island is when we talk about nature, it's a mosaic. Every part of the island you go is a different experience. And so part of what happens on Spring Island, it's like a new beginning for people. They get to come here, get to learn a whole new world. And by exploring all the different parts of the island with the new eyes they have through our education program, then the world opens up and it's a great new start to a different part of your life.
It's a place also because of its natural setting and because it's never crowded. It really encourages you to try things that you've never done before.
And we have workshops, photography and painting and sculpture.
It fledges the idea of the island in a wonderful way. It helps support this whole notion of how to build community.
And the visiting artists find that this is a very, very encouraging place for them to do their art. They feel a rhythm of the nature that's here. They know that the community appreciates the fact that they're an artist and they love coming back here.
Just gave me the opportunity to do something I've always wanted to try.
I came for golf and I found the art program.
Right now our core group is 100 artists and we're planning on expanding that.
And I never would have expected I would have done this in a million years.
We're the ceramics group and we're taking a workshop.
You know how wax looks when it hasn't been burnished? So I
may not be a great artist, but I have fun with it and I enjoy working with other people.
Oh, now it's graying down.
Everyone has some interest in art.
I just started.
I have no artistic ability whatsoever. And yet Missy has helped me out tremendously, so I can actually do a few things now.
And you'll always learn a new thing.
And yet it's been a blast. I've had more damn fun.
We love doing things like this. We love to experiment.
Brick will hold the pine bough.
We love to learn how to do things that we never believed possible.
And so, there's everything you want to do on this island.
15 years ago, we had our very first chafing cup.
Whatever Mother Nature offers up, take and be grateful.
45 degrees and raining.
Oh, it's lovely.
And most of them are retired and they never do this in the real world.
I'm like so nervous that I'm going to be doing this award ceremony. But you wait, all these people are going to turn around in a minute and it's going to be a captive audience.
And overall champions 2014 Chafing Cup, Bill Agnew and John Runette.
This is the 20th year I played in this thing. It took me 20 years to win.
Our amenities have gotten bigger and better. This is a place where you come to stay fit, get fit, remain fit, but it's also a community building, and I think that's probably unique. I love it here because I can just be myself.
members of the community embrace issues like the native plant program. Our garden, there's a wonderful community garden, and in the afternoons you can see members of the community out helping with this 3-acre garden. Their neighbors then come at 5:30 in the afternoon to get fresh vegetables, and those fresh vegetables go to our club kitchens as well. So we have the quintessential garden-to-table experience, which is another extension of this sense of naturalness.
I had my 75th birthday party here, and it was terrific. I've also been here when people shipped in live lobsters from Maine, and I mean, it's a wonderful resource, and our children absolutely love it.
We call that, back in the little town I grew up in, we call that putting up mason jars of memories.
There's enough like-mindedness in terms of the background of people and their interests and so forth, that if they found this place and liked it, that they liked it for many of the same reasons that you liked it. And it was just natural, instinctive, that you and Charlie, Joe and Terry, I mean, they became our best friends.
Well, I think it's because of what motivated those people to move here. And they didn't want to go to just another golf course development. They saw and sensed the mission that was put in place here, and everybody wanted to be part of it. And I think that is still continuing, and I hope it will not only continue, but that it will grow, and that's really important.
If that continues, if we can get that buy-in from the third 100, then the Spring Island that you see 20 or 30 years from now will be very similar in many respects to the island that you see today. And I think that's important, and that would be absolutely wonderful if that continues.
But the final thing I would say that is most rewarding to Betsy and I is the sense of community. People just don't want to leave. And it isn't. The rhythm of the nature has something to do with that. It is a wonderful, peaceful, beautiful place to live. But when we do our market research about why people love being here, sure, they mention the nature and the beauty. They don't talk about the golf course. They don't talk about the interior design or the quality of the architecture. They talk about their neighbors. They talk about their friends. They say the reason they love being here is the people. And while Spring Island looks very much like we hoped it would look, really much surprised at the way it physically turned out. It's what we do. But we could never have imagined such a wonderful sense of place and sense of community that the members have brought here.